Hi everyone, we're back again, and this time we will be discussing the 2-month strategy for INICET. I'm Dr. Harshita Choudhary, secured a rank of 188 in NEETPG 2023, and in the INICET May session this year, I secured a rank of 184. So we exactly had 2 months ourselves between the NEETPG and INICET. So I can totally relate what is the amount of stress and what is exactly needed in the 2 months for INICET. So I will take you through it. If these 2 months seem very less to you, or if you feel that no, there is no hope, let me tell you that is not the case at all. And the 2 months can be a total game changer for you, and it just has to be properly planned. So while watching this video, get a pen and paper, sit with me, and let's make a schedule for the upcoming 2 months. So let me take you through the 3 reads that I planned for you and which I did for myself as well. But here I want to tell you not only what I did, but also what better could have I done so that you can better your prep and get an awesome rank in your INICET November session. So let's start with the first read. So your first read should be planned such that it starts from 1st September to 5th October, right? I'm taking you through 3 reads in these 2 months. So from 1st September to 5th October, what all you need to do is, if you've not done the previous year question, the most important part is do the previous year question first. Second, mark your notes, do the extra topic for INICET, follow it up with a TND for each subject and make a table. These are roughly the overview of things I want you to do. Now let's start with each of them. So while you're doing your previous year questions, preferably I did them subject wise. Do it compulsorily for the 5 to 6 years that is present in the Marrow app, which I did. If you want to go further, you can do it for 10 years, which is present in the Reflex app by Dr. Aditya Gupta. And that is also a very good idea, honestly speaking, because INICET does repeat your questions from the past 10 years. So if you have the time, do the 10 years questions. I did for 5 years. The second thing is, while you're doing the previous year questions, it is always a good idea to open your notes. Either you can open the notes after every year. So you've suppose done the 15 questions of pediatrics, which is present in 2022 session. So you do that, open your notes and mark the topics which are frequently asked. So I'll show you an example of pediatrics. So my pediatric notebooks looked somewhat like this. And as you can see, so in my pediatrics notebook, I had these post-it where INICET was written, right? That after doing the previous question, I knew that these topics were important for me. Okay, so now what you do is you've marked the notes. I'll give you an example. For example, like the respiratory disorders of neonatology is very important. So when you're doing the respiratory disorders of neonatology, you know that now you need to read this topic. Plus, you've already marked that you need to know the Silverman scoring. And you know that this question is only frequently asked. So you honestly don't have to go through the entire notes of neonate or the entire pediatrics. You have to selectively read pediatrics now from now on in your second read. So that is what I mean by mark your own notes. The third point is very important. That is, do extra topics for INICET. Now what these extra topics are, I will be discussing. So as you can see, these are the extra topics basically. So subject wise, I've divided them. So for first and second year, the extra topics will be for anatomy, dissection, histology, and embryo, for which I used Ashwini sir's notes. And he has your free videos on his YouTube channel, which you can easily access. So, download the PDFs. It'll be present on his Telegram channel, and annotate them, make those notes, which for the extra topics, and keep them with you in one place. The second is graphs of physiology. I will be sharing a PDF on my Telegram channel as well for this. So it has all the combined graphs which are loved by the AIMS people and frequently asked. Then for biochem, we have the molecular techniques and the genetics, which is very beautifully covered by Dr. Zainab Bora. In pathology, mainly the focus on general paths. So first aid combines the general pathology very well. Again, if you have not done first aid, it's absolutely fine. It's a very concise way of putting general path. That's why I did it from first aid. But you can do whatever notes you're using, but put your focus on general path a lot. In pharma, the general pharma numericals are not asked that much in NEET, but when you're doing INICET questions, you feel that a lot of things on volume of distribution and metabolism of drug, a lot of questions are asked from the general pharma part, plus the immunomodulators like pembrolizumab, these other topics, ipilimumab, these are very frequently asked. Then you have the new drugs. So AIMS has a tendency of asking the new drugs which are FDA approved in the past 1 year. So, you would have to keep an eye on the updates that a lot of teachers are putting. So I follow Dr. Ankit, and he puts the revision videos for pharma, which are very concise, along with, he would be putting the updates for the new drugs. Then for micro, you have the stains and some typical organisms which only AIMS would love to ask, that is Burkholderia and Acinetobacter. For forensic now, a lot of it won't be asked in NEET, but forensic is a very important topic for INICET. So take a rapid revision of any source. Honestly, you can use PrepLadder, and it was a great source where for forensic, the entire subject has to be done a bit more in detail and thoroughly compared to NEET. Then for the third and final year subjects, any notes would suffice, honestly speaking, because the topics are important and it does not matter that where you do it from. So, for PSM, biostats and the studies like RCT and a lot of the studies are asked frequently along with the updates that are there. ENT Ophthal, you can use any notes. It is not that frequently asked. Like Ophthal also has very selective topics like squint. So, while I'm taking you through these, you would realize that if you do the previous year question, you can form your own list. This is a broad overview of the topics that is specially asked only in INICET. So for medicine, usually integrated medicine is asked. That's why I recommend that do your first and second year notes thoroughly. So what I do was basically what I did was you mark your notes selectively according to the previous year questions. But for first and second year, read the whole notes, because a lot of times a medicine question looks to you like it is only a clinical based question, but at the end it will be asked the first and second year. So first and second year should be done very thoroughly. So I would say apart from only doing the marked topics, also read the notes. But for third and fourth year, you can easily do only the marked topics which you yourself will mark after doing the previous year question. So medicine you have integrated mainly from path in the first and second year subjects, and you would have emergencies which are very frequently asked. For surgery, traumatology is a lot of it is asked. So uro and hepatobiliary trauma is very important along with general. So you will have a lot of instruments, a lot of drains, a lot of sutures being used in INICET. For peds, neonatology is very important because systemic peds will be covered more or less along with your medicine, but neonatology is very important. They would give you like reflexes, small videos. So do neonatology very well along with congenital heart disease, which is a favorite for every exam. For OBGY, gynae is very focused. Like you will have clear-cut questions from cervical cancer and vulval cancer. Vulval cancer, which is normally not covered in usually a lot of classes. So do vulval cancer from any source, and do not forget the short subjects. I've not particularly pinpoint the topics in short subject because the short subjects overall are very important. So if you ask me in your first read, what should your focus be? First and second year and the short subject. That should be your focus. And there will be very few topics from the third and final year, the major subjects, right? Now taking you back. So we have done the PYQs, we have marked the notes, and we've done the extra topics for INICET. Now I would recommend that you follow it up with a TND. So in a TND, what would happen is you would have the specific topics and in detail of those topics. So when you're watching the TND and hearing the discussion, whatever topics you find will be the previous year topics only, which you've already marked in your notes. So whatever extra points about those topics you find, I would say that add them in your notes itself. Do not make another copy because you will not be able to revise that other copy, right? So there's no point. Just whatever extra points you find in the discussion, add them in your notes only. So your notes will have marked topics with all the high yielding stuff. Then the last point, which is written here, is make a table. Now what I mean by this table is I'll show you. So this is what a table looks like, basically what I did in my first read. So you have 4 columns. First is important topics marked in note. Yes, I did that. PYQs, I've done it. I write all the subjects in one column and then I tick whatever I do in my first read. And the last column is what all sources which I have used in my first read that I need to revisit in my last 10 days revision. So, you have to see the bookmark PYQs, or you have to see the, DVT or whatever I had done where I had marked. So, you need to write that. So, you don't forget that where you have to read finally in your last 10 days. Okay. So, this is a table which you should make so that you are yourself a bit guided and focused. Now, coming on to what I mean by keep making last 10 days revision notes in whichever read you do. So, basically, your aim is that you have, for every subject, you have 4 to 5 pages only of that subject ready, right? That is because that is the only thing that you can revise in our last 10 days. Honestly speaking, more than 5 to 6 pages you cannot revise for every subject, especially in the last 10 days. So that is what you need to make. So now I'll give you an example. Like while you're reading, for example, you're reading surgery and you're reading general surgery. So you know that you will get a question from GCS and you forget the GCS how much ever times you read it or how much ever easy it might sound actually. So you know that topic, write that particular topic, write GCS, that scoring in your last 10 days revision notes. So make a fresh notebook where you will be keeping 5 to 10 pages for each subject depending on the length and the importance of the subject for INICET. Like write subject 1, write micro, suppose the heading, write what all are the points that are frequently forgotten by you and which is asked in INICET. So while going through your first read, you would know the topics, plus you would have written some topics that you forget in your last 10 days revision, which you just need to see before the exams. Right. So, I've spoken so much about your first read because first read is very important. It will take you about 1 month. I've given you about 35 days for it. So this is all you need to cover for all the subjects. Be very focused. Don't start with reading all of your notes. You will not be able to cover it. Okay. Now, let's go on to your second read. So, just like my slides, your second read gets very, very small. So that is all. So how you start your second read is do it from 5th to 23rd October. Okay. So roughly this is about 2.5 weeks that I've given you. And what you will do is basically now when you're starting your second read, open the table which you've made. So this table you must have made. So open that table, see your sources that where you will be reading now stuff from the second read. So you will have to read only the marked topics that you've done. Now your marked topics will be at a faster pace. You've already marked them and read it once in your first read. So try to, when you open your notebooks for the marked topics, try to do active recall. Open the topic, remember that what you know about, for example, cervical cancer. Now, if you're forgetting, for example, the screening criteria or if you're forgetting the age cutoffs for screening, you know that that is your frequently forgotten topic. That is what needs to go in your last and 10 days revision notebook. So see the marked topics, continue to figure out what are your forgettable areas, keep adding them to your last 10 days notes and do the bookmark previous year questions. Because when you're doing the previous year questions, you will have questions which are frequently forgotten and which you cannot remember or you feel it's a new concept or you need to just know it because you can't write everything in your notes. So bookmark those questions and see only the bookmark questions in your second read, right? So these are the only 4 things that you need to do. Open the table for the knowing your sources, marked topics will need to be done, the bookmark previous year questions and keep adding them to the last 10 days notes. Okay. Now let's go on to your third read. Your third read will be for 10 days. Your INICET will probably be on the first Sunday, which is 5th November. So from 23rd October to 4th November will be your last read. Open only your last 10 days revision notes. This is my only advice. If you try to open all your notes, it will not be possible for you to cover the subject. Open your last 10 days notes. Now here you have a trick which is available, which is BTR. So the BTR, which is conducted by Dr. Zainab Bora, it is a summary of all the subjects, especially including all the high yield points for INICET. So, this time it is happening around 19, 20, 21st of October, which falls around your end days of your second read. So, if you plan on attending the BTR, which is definitely a good idea because, I would suggest attend the BTR if you are not able to make those last 10 days notes. Plus, if you're not sure of the reading you have done, if you're not thorough with your notes and you feel that you want the ready-made material, do attend the BTR. It is a lifesaver, honestly speaking. So what you need to do in the last 10 days is, if you've made the last 10 days revision notes, which you really should, because the topics are personalized. BTR will be common for everyone. It will take care of all the topics. That is important, but the topics you forget is very personalized. So still I would recommend do make the last 10 days revision notes, but if you feel that they're not sufficient for you, then attend the BTR and revise it in the last 10 days. So I've framed this entire thing for you so that it is easily revisable in the last 10 days along with BTR. This is all I want you to take away from this video, how you can plan your last 3 revisions and how you can crack this paper in these 2 months, don't give up. Plan your 3 readings and let's get it. Let's get on. If you have any more questions, do put these in the comment section and don't forget to like and subscribe this channel if you find my videos useful. Thank you so much. Happy studying.